Good morning, everyone. This is Tom Manson with Police Technical. This week at Arizona HIDA, I had a question that came up about charts that had a lot of aggregated data upon them. It's real easy to clutter up a chart, whether it's a state or a country, with the aggregated data that an analyst would like to see upon that chart. I want to give you a couple examples. This is the chart that I actually sent off earlier today to the world to show what we can do with a chart within PowerPoint. This is a narcotic seizures chart with some in nexus to Interstate 40, and on this chart you notice that if I click on the green circle for methamphetamine, I see a series of hotspots which appear, and if I hover over each of these hotspots, we can see that there's a little screen tip that tells us exactly what that is. Now that's a hyperlink, so if I click that, it can go somewhere else. It can go to an Excel chart, it can go to an Access database, it can go to video, it can go to images. But these are all triggers for marijuana and cocaine, and we could put a whole series of these on here. But not only can we turn these on, but we can also take these off. So when I click the red circle on marijuana or the red circle on cocaine, I see that I can remove all those data points. So you can see that we can quickly drive this type of chart and make some pieces of data come on the screen. We can take them off, we can drive other pieces of data, and then once we have that on there, not only can we see them, but now we can hover over them, see what they are, and then drill into those. This is the type of chart I want to show you how to make today. The first thing I'm doing right now is I've created a brand new chart with nothing on it. It's a nice static empty space, and I can come over here. The first thing I want to do is I want to create a new shape. So I'm going to create a circle on the screen. I'm going to scale this circle down a little bit. This is going to be my first hot spot. Now we know we want to do a couple things with the circle. One of the first things we want to do with the circle is not only do we want to see it, but we also want to have it do something. We want it to have some type of impact. So I'm going to come over to Insert with my circle highlighted and go to Hyperlink. Hyperlinks have one special thing that I really like, and those are screen tips. So screen tips, we're going to call this one a meth seizure. And I'll click OK on this. And for our purposes right now, I'm not going to drill it to go anywhere else. I'm just going to tell it to go to this slide just so it's active, and I'll click OK on this. Once I have this, we can put a quick style on it if we want to see what it's going to look like, and that looks pretty nice. And we can hover this somewhere around Interstate 40, so we'll sit over here in California. So if I run this right now under slideshow and from the current slide, when I hover over this, I see it does have a screen tip on it for methamphetamine seizure. Now we need to apply some animation to this hotspot. So with my circle highlighted, I'm going to come to animation, and I'm going to go up and I'm going to find the zoom out feature, because I kind of like zoom out for these hotspots. So we'll make this little hotspot zoom out. Now I see that if I come back in and I actually run the slideshow from the current slide, there's nothing there, and if I click the mouse anywhere, that hotspot zooms in. Well, that's okay, but I need to make something that'll make a series of hotspots come in, not just one. But first I'm going to duplicate all my hotspots. Let's say that we have a whole series of methamphetamine seizures. One in Arizona, one in New Mexico, we'll stick another one right here in Oklahoma City, put another one in Tennessee, somewhere in here, and then another one down here on the coast. So now we have a series of hotspots, and you notice that these are all going to come in on mouse click. I really don't want them to all come in on mouse click, but for right now it's okay. What I want to do is I want to add another hotspot, and I want to add another hotspot that does something special. I want to add a hotspot that when I click it, not only is it going to do something, but it's going to make all those circles appear or disappear. So here's my little hotspot, and let's make this thing red or green so you can see it better. Maybe put a little border on it, and I'm even going to put a little number 1 on it. This number 1 is really just ancillary to the actual hotspot itself, but I want you to be able to differentiate this later from some other hotspots that we might create. What I want to do is when I highlight all of these little locations, what I want them to do is not to come in on click like they used to do. I want them to come in with a trigger. And this trigger doesn't animate them as part of the click sequence. What it does is when I come down here to oval 12 and I see this little number 1 right there. When I click oval number 12 and click OK, what's going to happen to this now is these individual spots are not going to come in. And let me change this so they all come together. So they all come in with previous. What happens now is when we run this presentation from this current slide, when I come over and I click on this little number 1, you see there's a hot spot on it. My hand appears there. When I click on it, all the spots come in, and each one of these spots has a little methamphetamine seizure. So And now if I wanted to drill into this one that happened over OKC, I could click here and drill in and find some additional information about that location. This isn't too bad, we're almost there, but we have to do one more thing, and that's we have to make all these things disappear. So I'm going to take my little hotspot again, I'm going to duplicate it. In this case, I'm going to move it down here, and I'm going to kind of order it so it's in a good position, somewhere close. And I'm going to change this to, instead of number 1, we'll make this number 2. This way we can differentiate it later when we're linking to it. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color as well. I kind of like the metaphor green and red, obviously start and go, or go and stop. What I want to do now is I want to highlight all these little hot spots, and I'm going to give them some more animation. So I'm going to add some more animation to them. I'm going to roll down here and find the zoom out. So now I have all these little items that are going to zoom out when I do something else. And I see that all my entrances have one trigger, and now I've got all my exits. And I'm going to come down here and give them a trigger as well. And the trigger, of course, that I want to use is the one that is called hotspot number 2, or has a little 2 on it. So oval 58. So I'll click this one and click OK. Now we should have the ability, if I run this slideshow full screen, if I run it from the current slide, I should be able to make these hotspots appear, and then I can make these hotspots disappear. I can bring them back, I can hover over them, I can click on them if I wanted to, or I can make them disappear. Now this isn't too bad. We're almost where I want to be, but really we're just not seizing methamphetamine. We're actually seizing a lot of different things. So to fix this, we could go through the same process again, and sometimes I do that. Sometimes I'll go through, I'll make another circle, I'll make another series of triggers, and that works out pretty well. But let's say we have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different chunks of data. Now there's going to be a lot of linking here, but the thing I want you to see is that, let's say that we have seizures and we have response. We don't have to duplicate all of these. What we can do is I can highlight all of those points, the triggers and the hotspots, with a global select. Once again, I'm just going to click way out here in space. I don't want to click on the map, but I'm going to click maybe even off the slide, way over here. I'm going to highlight all of this material, and I'm going to duplicate it. Control D David. And I'm going to duplicate it. Now you notice what it did was it gave me all the same colors. So my second series of hotspots are blue, and my triggers are green and red, but it's also duplicated all the animation and all the trigger actions. So now if I scroll, if I move this data down just a little bit, if I move my hotspots down, I could take all of these other hotspots, I could highlight them, and maybe come in and give them a different color completely. Let's come in and give these maybe a light blue color if we can still see it on the map. Click that, or if you want to change the color to something more dramatic, we can make them orange. So now I can take all these hotspots, and these are going to represent a different type of seizure. So they might be law enforcement response, but let's say that there was no seizure for this narcotic here in Oklahoma City. Didn't have anything. Arkansas did. We'll move this one off the coast and maybe set it up a little bit inland. And California will give you a seizure there. We'll move this one to some other cities as well. So something right on the four corners. So now we got different seizures, and we can take these little numbers off of here because this is going to work fine for us at this point, so we know which one's which. The top one were the blue triggers, and the orange ones, or the bottom one were the orange ones. So when we run this now, slideshow from the current slide, when I run this, if I turn the top series on, all of my blue triggers come on. And if I click on the bottom one, all the orange triggers come on. Now I can shut off the blue ones and I can shut off the orange ones, but it's a little confusing as to which one is which over here. Are these orange? No, those are blue. Are these orange? Yes, those are orange. So one thing we can do is obviously we need to name this. We need to put a legend on this. And you can see that with this chart that's been done already, but this is just a series of boxes. So if we come over here to home, grab a rectangle, and I'm going to set some things here. I'll set one box, I'll set another one down here, and we'll check the order of these things. This box ought to be blue, so we'll change the shape fill down here and maybe make it a dark blue color, something like that, that kind of represents what we were looking at. And this box will change its color to orange, so it represents what we were looking at as well. We can send both of these boxes to the back. With a right click, we'll send them both to the back, so there we can see the triggers. And if we wanted to actually title these, we do that as well. So if we want to put a little title on each one of these, if we adjust these little boxes around, we can title these things. So this is methamphetamine, and the other one's cocaine. Then when we run this slideshow from the current slide, now we can see that if you want to see the blue triggers, one click in here shows us those. We want to see the orange trigger, one click on that, makes those appear. We can also make those triggers go away. This is a great way to put a lot of data, whether it's seizure work for narcotics, whether it's arrest stats. There's a lot of analytics that we can drive on a single chart, but it doesn't have to look cluttered. Within PowerPoint, using triggers and screen tips, we can put in data, we can take data away, and make it very, very precise. I hope you'd enjoy this training presentation. If you have any questions, contact us at policetechnical.com. Again, this is Tom Manson for Police Technical. Thank you so much for watching.